Did you know that we spend 70% of our activity communicating? And yet no one has taught us how to effectively communicate to produce results. I'd like us all to do a very quick exercise. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to rate yourself from 1 to 10, with 1 being not effective at communicating and 10 being exceptionally effective at communicating. Okay. Does everyone have a number? Yes. Okay, good. I want you to remember that number. Now, I want you to pay close attention to what I'm about to do next, because I'm about to ask you a few questions. And after I'm done, I want us all to take a quick moment to think about whether or not you would give yourself the same rating. The first question is, what are your verbal and nonverbal communication skills like? How articulate are you? Do you answer your questions or your answers well? Explain your answers well, excuse me. And do you listen closely to your patients and staff, or do you interrupt and try to dominate the conversation? I want you guys to be brutally honest with yourself. Would you give yourself the same rating? Communication between us and our patients, as well as how effectively we communicate, can mean the difference between a good day and a bad day. The difference between a returning patient or a negative review posted online where it will live longer than Cher or Betty White. This might sound like a funny question, but we have to ask ourselves, is there any 21st century skill more important than being able to sustain coherent, confident conversations? So today, I'm going to challenge you, each and every one of you here, to start seeing each other as well as our patients and really think about what you are saying, not only through your words, but tone of voice and body language. A popular statistic tells us that communication is 93% nonverbal. That means that people are paying more attention to your facial expressions, gestures, and body position than your words. Like many of you here today, my passion is dentistry, and I believe dentistry is truly a profession that we are all blessed to interact with every single demographic there is, well, because, and I'm sure this is going to be groundbreaking info here. Everyone has teeth at some point in their lives. Although this certainly keeps things from getting boring, this also offers a very unique challenge in effectively communicating, because it requires us to be sort of a chameleon, and that's if we do it right. And this is when the blinders need to come off, and we need to look at the person attached to the teeth. Why are they here? What led them to us? How do they feel about visiting the dentist? What can I do to help them feel more comfortable, confident, and healthy? So today, one of the things you're probably thinking, you know, Danny, that sounds really great, but I really don't have time for all of that. Well, I'm here to tell you that if you do, you will see the direct results in higher case acceptance, patient loyalty, and satisfaction. The last time that I checked, feeling heard and accepted ranked pretty high on the human need hierarchy, and this rings doubly true for anyone who might be in pain, had a bad experience, or if they're embarrassed of their situation, or if they're just flat out afraid of the dentist. So, for the next 5 minutes or so, I want us to review 4 ways or 4 reasons why a patient might not, that's right, might not want to return to the practice, even when we think everything is just fine. Have you guys ever heard of that word? Everything's fine, everything's just fine. Friends, that is the worst, the second worst F word. It's never a good thing in dentistry or in your marriage. Number 1, embarrassment. Often, we don't know what has caused someone to come to their poor oral health, but chances are, if they're here now, it means things have gotten so bad that it trumps any shame they're experiencing. We have the ability to turn that around by asking the right questions, displaying positive body language going forward, and helping them to come up with a plan to make the patient feel hopeful and supported. If we are on autopilot or offering an impersonal clinical assessment, this just affirms those negative feelings, potentially alienating a returning patient. Number two, thank you for that. Number two, absence of professionalism. What does the patient hear when they call the office? Are they tossed in a never-ending automated loop? Is the phone answered in a cheerful, non-threatening way? And this might sound funny, like, Danny, how in the world can "thank you for calling Dental World" sound threatening? But hear me out. You don't know what it took for someone to pick up the phone and call your practice. And this is their first introduction to your dental practice. So really focusing on a soft, friendly, welcoming tone can immediately put someone at ease and disarm any fight or flight. How is the staff interacting? What is their demeanor? Are they relaxed, at ease with each other, or is the air tense and filled with negative energy? No patient, and I mean no patient, wants to walk into a war zone. So keeping employee conflict and gossip out of the office is job number one. Taking and making the time for employee coaching is critical, and it must not be viewed as wasted time, especially if you want to empower your staff, motivate them, and help them develop the art of communication. Reason number three, clinical jargon. Again, we serve everyone, so keeping the clinical terminology out of conversations is always a good practice. It's better to assume your patient doesn't have a dental degree, but this also doesn't mean dumbing down the conversation. Look for cues of understanding, such as head nods, smiles, and verbal acknowledgement of understanding. If a patient feels like there's an open line of communication, they're more likely to schedule, reach out, and more importantly, to return. Number four, bait and switch. Upselling is a part of our job, but it is a skill that must be applied with tact and a gentle approach. Be very clear, actually be crystal clear in what's included and what's not included from the patient copay. Thoroughly investigate insurance so there are no misunderstandings or surprises. I know the irony. And if possible, always offer patients payment plans that fit into their budget. No patient wants to feel pressured, misled, or lied to. So when talking about future appointments or recommended treatment, keep the tone friendly and casual, and by no means ever apply a hard sale. Friends, there are plenty of things that we can do to remove those blinders and to start seeing each other as well as our patients. Developing the art of communication is a very simple way to add value to your practice. And in my opinion, it adds value in every area of your life, professional and personal. And this is key to gaining and maintaining a thriving dental practice. Thank you.